Ladies and gentlemen, you are where you are because of how you think. This is not just a concept, it's a truth that governs every result you've ever experienced. Most people walk through life believing their conditions are caused by external factors: bad luck, lack of opportunities, their family, the economy, or something someone else did or didn't do. But the truth is more confronting. You are exactly where you are because of the dominant thoughts that have been occupying your mind. Your mind is a factory. It produces results based on what you feed it. Every belief, every self-image, every daily habit is a direct reflection of the thoughts that have been entertained repeatedly. If you've been telling yourself that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not ready, or not lucky, then your outer world will match that script. This isn't philosophy, it's science and psychology at work. The outer world is nothing but a mirror of your inner world, and if your inner world is cluttered with doubt, fear, excuses, and hesitation, the mirror reflects failure, regret, stagnation, and mediocrity. You cannot escape the law of cause and effect. Thoughts are causes, and your life is the effect. The people who seem to surge ahead while you feel left behind didn't start out luckier. They simply began to think differently. They started entertaining thoughts of possibility, of abundance, of relentless discipline and belief. While most people are trapped in a reactive mind, set responding to life, reacting to obstacles, retreating from fear, winners are proactive in their thinking. They don't just think positively, they think intentionally. Every single day, they choose the thoughts that are aligned with the results they want. This is the secret. Your thinking is your point of origin. Everything else follows. The money you have or don't have, the energy you carry or lack, the opportunities you notice or miss, the people you attract, all of these are governed by the ideas that dominate your consciousness. When your mind is consumed by limitation, the world will serve you proof of limitation. When your mind is full of possibility, new doors start appearing. Doors that were always there but invisible to a lower frequency of thought. Think about how often you've blamed your past. Maybe you've told yourself that because of what happened 10 years ago, you're stuck in this position. But it's not what happened 10 years ago that's holding you back. It's the thoughts about what happened that you've carried with you like dead weight. You've replayed the story, relived the pain, recycled the fear. Your thoughts gave it life, and it became a permanent part of your identity. The moment you stop identifying with old stories and start thinking in alignment with who you want to become, everything changes. People don't realize how powerful thought is because it's invisible. You can't touch it, but you can feel it. You can't hold it, but it holds you. Thoughts are seeds, and like any seed, once planted and nurtured with repetition and emotion, they grow into outcomes. You cannot plant fear and grow confidence. You cannot plant procrastination and harvest results. You cannot plant excuses and expect success. It does not work that way. You get what you plant, and most people are sowing poison in their minds and expecting a harvest of greatness. If you feel behind in life, it's not because you started late. It's because you started with the wrong mindset. You can catch up faster than you think, but it starts by shifting the quality of your thoughts. Begin by becoming aware of your internal dialogue. What do you say to yourself every day? Do you encourage yourself or do you attack yourself? Are your thoughts expanding your vision or shrinking your belief? Are you feeding your mind solutions or problems? Most people have been thinking the same way for years, running on the same mental programming since childhood. And they wonder why their life feels like it's on repeat. Every belief you have today was once just a thought you kept thinking. No one is born with self-doubt. No one is born lazy. No one is born broken. These are mental habits, not personality traits. If you have the power to accept a belief, you have the power to reject it. But rejection doesn't happen through willpower alone. It happens through conscious substitution. You don't get rid of a negative thought by fighting it. You replace it with a stronger, more empowering one. And then you repeat it over and over again until the new thought becomes the dominant one. This is the work most people avoid. They want the results without changing the root. But your current level of thinking is what created your current life. To go to a new level, you must upgrade your thinking. You must start studying yourself. Read things that stretch your belief. Listen to voices that challenge your excuses. Surround yourself with ideas, words, and people who pull you forward. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. Nothing enters without your permission. And if you've allowed doubt and fear to rent space in your mind, you've also given them control over your life. Your thoughts must evolve if your life is to evolve. You cannot stay mentally in one place and expect your life to move forward. Thought is the first mover. It is the seed, the spark, the ignition. If you feel stuck, behind, or left out, it's not life being unfair. It's the wake-up call that your thinking is outdated, limited, or misaligned. Everything you see as real around you, your finances, your health, your relationships, your achievements started in the invisible realm of thought. This is why it's not about working harder, it's about thinking sharper. It's about tuning your mind into the frequency of the life you desire, not the one you're stuck in. The yes, but mentality is one of the most dangerous forms of self-sabotage a person can carry. It disguises itself as reason, as practicality, even as humility, but in truth, it's the mental disease of limitation dressed up as logic. It is the silent killer of dreams and potential. Whenever you hear yourself say, yes, but, you're not just expressing doubt. You are declaring to your subconscious mind that your desire is optional and your fear is valid. That phrase is the mental brake pedal, halting your progress before it even begins. This kind of thinking creates an internal contradiction. On one hand, you say you want change. You say you want more money, more confidence, better health, deeper purpose. But the moment that desire arises, your conditioned mind pulls the emergency cord. Yes, but I'm too old. Yes, but I've failed too many times. Yes, but people like me don't get those opportunities. These statements don't come from truth. They come from fear. And fear is always a liar. The moment yes, but leaves your lips or enters your thoughts, you create a gap between intention and execution. That gap is filled with hesitation, and hesitation breeds inaction. Every time you feed your brain this internal contradiction, it learns that it's okay to stop. It learns to retreat. It learns to accept defeat before you've even made an attempt, and the worst part is, it feels rational. It feels like you're being smart, like you're just being realistic, when in fact you're building mental walls around yourself and locking the door from the inside. The yes, but response is a programmed defense mechanism. It's not natural, and it's not neutral. It's been conditioned into you through years of external voices, family, school, media, friends, failure. At some point you heard someone say it can't be done, or you experienced a moment of pain or rejection, and instead of confronting it, you adopted it. You downloaded it like software, and now it runs every time you try to upgrade your life. It's a loop. Desire, then doubt. Action, then retreat. You might not even notice it happening anymore, because it's so ingrained in your mental wiring that it feels like truth. But here's the truth, that yes, but is nothing more than a smokescreen, a mental illusion built to protect you from failure, rejection, and the unknown. The mind craves familiarity. It wants to keep you in known territory, even if that territory is miserable. When you aim for something higher, the mind senses danger, not because it's real, but because it's unfamiliar. So it triggers the yes, but reflex as a way of pulling you back to safety, but safety is not growth. Comfort is not destiny. The more you obey that reflex, the further you drift from the life you're capable of living. This mentality affects every area of your life. In relationships, it tells you, yes, I want love, but I've been hurt before. In business, yes, I want success, but I don't know enough. In health, yes, I want to be fit, but I don't have the time. All of these are excuses disguised as logic. None of them are rooted in fact. They're rooted in the fear of change. And the longer you entertain them, the deeper they sink into your identity. Eventually, you don't just use the excuse, you become it. You begin to define yourself by your limitations. Every time you indulge in yes, but you shrink your capacity, you dull your inner fire. You reinforce the idea that your dreams are conditional, that your worth is negotiable, that your goals are maybes instead of musts. And yet, no extraordinary life has ever been built on a foundation of maybe. Greatness requires decisiveness. It demands belief before evidence. It demands a mindset that says yes, and yes, I can succeed, and I will figure it out. Yes, I've failed before, and I'm still standing. Yes, it's hard, and I'll grow stronger through it. What separates the people who move forward from the ones who get stuck is not talent, timing, or background. It's the ability to override that mental script. The script that says yes, but is just that, a script. It's not written in stone. You can rewrite it. But rewriting it means becoming aware of it first. You have to catch it in real time. You have to stop yourself when the reflex kicks in and consciously flip it. Because when you don't, you give your power away. You become a victim of your own mind instead of the master of it. The people who seem to manifest results rapidly don't have perfect conditions, they have clean decisions. They don't wrestle with yes, but because they've trained themselves to think in terms of cause and effect, not excuses and delay. They know that action leads to clarity, and clarity leads to confidence. So instead of negotiating with fear, they move. They speak, they create, and even if they fail, they don't retreat to yes, but they rise again with yes, and when you say yes, but you live in reaction. You hand over your power to whatever your circumstances are in that moment. But when you decide to eliminate that phrase from your thinking, you reclaim your power. You stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop watering weeds. You begin to reprogram your subconscious with a new standard, a standard of ownership, of initiative, of progress. You train your mind to look for how, not why not. You teach your emotions to support your vision, not sabotage it. Changing this one it will begin to reshape your entire paradigm. It will change how you speak to yourself, how you respond to challenges, how you interpret failure, and how you move through discomfort. It will change your self-image because your self-image is built through repetition. And when you repeatedly choose empowerment over excuse, confidence over comfort, action over delay, you construct a new identity. One that is not trapped by old beliefs, but driven by a higher purpose and awareness. Feelings are not facts, they are feedback. This is one of the most important realizations a person can come to if they want to gain control over their life, their future, and their inner state. Most people walk through life assuming that how they feel is evidence of reality. If they feel afraid, they assume there's something to fear. If they feel unworthy, they assume they are. If they feel like a failure, they assume that's the truth. But that assumption is false. Feelings are signals, they are not proof. They are not permanent, they are not commands. They are responses to thoughts, beliefs, past programming, and patterns. And once you understand this, you stop allowing your feelings to define your identity or dictate your destiny. Emotions are energy in motion. They are chemical reactions triggered by internal or external stimuli, and they exist to alert you, not to control you. When you begin to interpret emotions as signals instead of verdicts, you gain a massive advantage in life. You stop saying things like, I feel anxious, so I can't do this, or I feel down, so I'm not good enough. Instead, you begin to say, this feeling is telling me something. What's the source? What thought caused it? That shift in language puts you back in the driver's seat. It separates your identity from your emotional state. It allows you to observe rather than obey. Most people have never been taught this. Instead, they've been conditioned to believe that negative feelings must be avoided, suppressed, or surrendered to. They either run from them or get ruled by them. They escape into distractions, addictions, and avoidance patterns, or they spiral deeper into overthinking, emotional paralysis, and internal self-attack. But here's what they don't realize. Feelings are mirrors. They reflect back to you what's going on in your inner world. If your feelings are negative, it's not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that something in your thinking is out of alignment with the life you want to create. For example, if you feel anxious before pursuing a new opportunity, that feeling isn't there to stop you. It's there to show you that you're stepping into uncertainty. It's feedback that you're growing. The fear you feel isn't a stop sign. It's a signal that you're leaving your comfort zone. But if you interpret that feeling as danger, you'll pull back. You'll retreat to what's familiar, even if it's unfulfilling. And that retreat becomes your pattern. You begin associating discomfort with not ready, when in reality, discomfort is often the exact sign that you are moving in the right direction. The same goes for feelings of unworthiness, sadness, guilt, or frustration. These emotions are feedback loops. They are tied to the internal stories you keep repeating, often unconsciously. If you tell yourself that you're not enough, your emotional body responds with feelings that align with that belief. And those feelings then reinforce the belief. It becomes a loop. Thought creates feeling. Feeling reinforces thought. And unless you interrupt that cycle, it becomes your emotional home. That's why awareness is everything. When you feel a negative emotion, your job is not to fight it or fake positivity. Your job is to get curious. To ask, what am I thinking right now that caused this emotion? Because emotions don't just appear, they are always the result of thought. And behind every persistent negative emotion is a persistent lie that's been left unchallenged. Once you expose the thought, you can begin to challenge it. You can investigate whether it's really true. You can choose to replace it with a thought that empowers you rather than drains you. This is how emotional mastery is built, not by denying feelings, but by decoding them. When you realize that feelings are temporary visitors, you stop letting them move in permanently. You welcome them, understand them, learn from them, and then decide what to do next from a place of clarity, not compulsion. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop letting emotions hijack your decision-making process. People who excel in life, in business, in relationships, they aren't free from negative emotions. They've simply trained themselves not to be controlled by them. They feel fear and move anyway. They feel doubt but act in faith. They feel overwhelmed, but they anchor themselves in structure and discipline. They've learned how to listen to their emotions without being ruled by them. That's emotional intelligence. And it begins with the core understanding that feelings are feedback, not facts. Another critical insight is that feelings are often tied to past programming, not present reality. If you were told as a child that your voice doesn't matter, you may still feel fear or resistance when it's time to speak up, even if no one is judging you now. That feeling isn't coming from now, it's coming from then. Your nervous system remembers. Your subconscious remembers. And when something in the present reminds it of that past moment, the old emotional response resurfaces. But just because it resurfaces doesn't mean it's valid. The challenge is to become aware of this outdated programming and rewire it with intention. You do this by feeling the feeling but not feeding it. You notice it, you observe it, you even allow it, but you don't surrender to it. You don't treat it like the authority of truth. You treat it like a guest, one that showed up for a reason, but one that doesn't get to run the house. When you separate your identity from your emotional state, you begin to create space. And in that space, you have the power to choose new thoughts, new actions, and new emotional patterns. Emotions are powerful. They give color and depth to our lives, but they are also meant to be navigated, not obeyed. Just like you wouldn't steer your car based on every gust of wind, you shouldn't steer your life based on every wave of emotion. The wind is feedback. It lets you adjust. It lets you strengthen your grip. It doesn't mean you abandon the journey. It means you master it, and that mastery begins the moment you stop treating feelings as final and start using them as fuel for a higher level of awareness, discipline, and decision. Your paradigm is the prison. Change it or stay stuck forever. Most people live their entire lives without understanding what a paradigm is, let alone how it rules over them. A paradigm is a mental program, a set of beliefs, habits, thought patterns, and behaviors that control every decision you make, every action you take, and every result you experience. It operates at the subconscious level, and it runs automatically, like a thermostat set to a specific temperature. No matter how much effort you put in, if you're working against a paradigm that's designed to keep you average, you'll never rise above average for long. You might spike with motivation, but you'll always snap back to the internal setting your paradigm is locked on. People think they're making choices, but in reality, most of their decisions are already made for them by their paradigm. From how much money they believe they can earn, to how much love they think they deserve, to the kind of body they allow themselves to have, to how happy they permit themselves to feel, it's all governed by a deeply ingrained, invisible mental structure. If you're feeling stuck, if you're constantly sabotaging your progress, if you're repeating the same painful patterns again and again, it's not because you're lazy or incapable. It's because you're trapped inside a mental operating system that was installed without your awareness, and you've been obedient to it ever since. This paradigm is shaped early in life by your parents, your environment, your culture, your school, and your experiences. Most of what you believe about life, money, success, relationships, even about yourself, isn't yours. You inherited it. It was given to you before you had the capacity to choose. And since no one ever taught you how to challenge or reprogram that mental software, you've spent years reacting to life through that same outdated lens. You may consciously want more freedom, more power, more purpose, but your paradigm keeps pulling you back like gravity to the known, the familiar, the predictable. The prison of the paradigm is so subtle that most people don't even realize they're locked inside. They blame the world. They blame their boss, they blame the economy, they blame timing, genetics, or relationships, but none of those things are the true barrier. The real problem is internal, it's invisible, it's the mental blueprint they're following without question. And because they've never been taught that this blueprint exists, they keep trying to fix their life on the outside while the real cause stays untouched on the inside. It's like trying to change the fruit without changing the root. You can't outwork a paradigm that says you're not good enough. You can't hustle a paradigm that's anchored in fear. You can't discipline a paradigm that's wired for mediocrity. This is why willpower alone never works long term. You can use it to make short bursts of change, but unless the paradigm is replaced, the old behaviors come creeping back. That's why people lose weight and gain it back, make money and lose it, build relationships and destroy them. The paradigm snaps them back to what it believes is normal. It doesn't matter how badly you want change on the surface if your subconscious is programmed to keep things the same. The subconscious will win every single time because it's the one truly in control. To escape the paradigm prison, the first step is awareness. You must become brutally honest with yourself and look at your current life as a mirror. Your results don't lie. They are a direct reflection of your paradigm. If you keep attracting toxic people, if you're constantly broke, if you struggle with self-worth, if you keep quitting when things get tough, it's not chance. It's pattern, and that pattern has roots. You must be willing to trace those roots back and ask, where did I learn this? Who taught me to think this way? When did I decide this was all I could be? Most people avoid this level of introspection because it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the doorway to transformation. When you see the paradigm clearly, when you expose the belief systems that have kept you small, you take back your power. You realize that you've been hypnotized by repetition and influence, and now it's time to wake up. And you don't escape the prison by force. You escape it by replacing the programming. That means feeding your subconscious mind new images, new affirmations, new thoughts, and new emotions tied to the identity you actually want to live out. You begin by imagining a new version of yourself, not just once, but constantly. You speak as that version. You act as that version. You make decisions from that version's mind, not your current one. You rewire the paradigm through repetition, emotional impact, and relentless belief. And yes, there will be resistance. The old paradigm will fight for survival. It will whisper doubts. It will try to seduce you back into old habits, but you don't negotiate with it. You override it. You stay consistent until the new belief becomes the dominant one. Until the new paradigm becomes your new prison. Only this time, it's a prison of greatness. Changing your paradigm is the most liberating thing you'll ever do. Because once you do it, you're no longer bound by your past. You're no longer a puppet of fear. You stop reacting to life and you start designing it. You move from limitation to creation, from obedience to mastery. You start to see that your mind isn't just a storage center for memories. It's a powerful tool for transformation. But only if you learn how to use it. And that begins with the decision to stop accepting your old programming as truth. The decision to break the cycle, to rise above the mental chains that have defined your choices and construct a new internal reality that supports the life you're truly meant to live.